Hello everyone, I'm just giving a rundown on what I've done on the beams over several months, many months, over winter especially. Although I've got my boat underneath the dome outside here, I haven't done any work on the external of the boat since I got it basically, or since a year or more ago. And part of it is over winters I can't do much work outside because of the weather. It's too wet and too damp for the epoxy to get a good run, so I work on the beams. So here's a view of the beams. There's a few additions to the beams, so hold back on the comments on them. I will have a couple other short videos popping out after this one to cover them in a little bit more detail, and then you can go out with 101 questions if you want. You'll see what I mean. So I can't see myself then. Here we go. Okay, so I've laid the beams out in their arrangement. So we've got forward beam, next one, and the aft beam. Okay, so this is what we've got. I'll start right up the front. So I stripped these down. So first of all, like everything, I've removed all hardware, all fixings. There's not a single cleat fixing, track fixing, bridle arrangements, doesn't matter what it is. I've removed, I've cleaned it, I've drilled it out, I've epoxied it, filled it, and sanded and fixed it up. So it was all filled up. Bed and beam ends, you can see, so we had some brackets fitted. Okay, then I went through, so I've stripped everything. Then I went through and gave it a heavy belt sand. So I've used a belt sand. I'm a carpenter by trade. These are my weapons of choice. It's a big belt sander. There we go. 40 grit and 80 grit. Gotta be careful, otherwise you'll wreck what you're working on. And then we've got an oil sander with the same 40 and 80 grit sanders. So that's for sanding down the main areas, just to clean it all up, dust and crap going everywhere. 5 box loads of pads. This is for the smaller disc. One's for the big one. So go bulk, go hard, don't try and conserve too many pads. Then what we have is the edges of the beam. So normally the edge of your beams, I think in the Warrams, you got about a 1/4 inch round or 6mm radius. Standard, some people up it to a 12mm or 1/2 inch. And then I've gone to the extreme there. I've used a 1 inch or a 25.4 or whatever bit on this beast of a router. Okay, bit dangerous for the uninitiated. Freehand across the top, insides, bottoms, ends, everything. Every single part of the beam got rounded over. These beams did not have any fiberglass on them, so that's what made my job easier. So after 25 years, they had fared fairly well. Wooden boat out in the weather, not much upkeep, and that's what I was left with. Now, I haven't done anything with the inner webs. They're still pretty basic. Well, they're almost the same as the day they were built. I don't expect them to ever change. So there's no movement, shrinkage, or anything. 2-pack paint. So it's, you know, the plywood web there's got fibre, it's got resin on it. Then it's got 2-pack primers, and then it's got 2-pack overcoats. So I've then come along after I've sanded and prepped everything and put. There's a couple of layers of epoxy in here, so it's back on that leading edge. And then with the fact that it's now a 25mm round, it looks neater, and it won't ever crack either. And I've done that everywhere. It's it was the easiest way to clean it. Okay, so that was rounding the beams up. I'm then in the process of doing these beam latching points, which you'll see in a later video. I've put a layer of glass over the top, down over the ends and under, so the beam ends and underneath are all capped with a layer of glass. And I'll probably mention it again in the next videos, but the ends of the beams over these points, just in case, I suppose, and it's where we'll have the compression pads or whatever. There's 12-ounce double bias on them. That just gives them a bit more grunt, I suppose. What else we got? Oh, seen that whole process. This is that beam that sits underneath the pod normally, or does, and they taper off. I've added another piece of Oregon in there, glue laminated that in, and then capped it all. What I had was, this beam didn't actually have the hardwood capping on it, so I've then, just to finish off what was meant to have been done 20 odd years ago, I suppose, put a capping on it. And the effect of that is between the that beam and the rear beam, there was a slight height difference, only 10-12 mil. You would not have noticed it, I don't think, between the top level of the two beams, based on where they sit in the troughs. And I'm just going to grab my notes just to see if I've missed anything on the overview. So we've got glass on top, we've got glass over the pads. I'll just do a bit of a wander while I'm reading from a little list. The timber's Oregon beams, and sort of see the grain. She's all well grained. They came out of an old shed back, and it was an old warehouse when he built it, and then he machined all the timber up. So they were old timber when it was built, let alone now. They're all nylon bushes, all original. No, there's no rot in it. The beams are rot free. It's testimony to the builder, I suppose, and the designer. If it's built right and designed right, you won't have any major problems. And another video I'll go through these lugs a bit more with the engine lugs, etc., but I removed all the existing and replaced them all. I think that's about it. So apologies for walking up and down and moving around, and I think that'll be it. I'll post shortly with another video explaining some more stuff. Catch us.